Hello, lovely listeners. Julieta here with chapter 18. So in the last chapter, we discover the ice giant has an ice chalice, and Elika promises to go to the Himalaya mountains where the amber giant lives, so that when the ice giant drinks from the ice chalice, which is a kind of really fancy magical cup, the ice giant will transport to Elika. So let's find out how this plan goes in chapter 18. Elika found Aunt Caroline in the tunnel. Elika was relieved to see her. Aunt Caroline gave Elika a big hug as they exited the cave together. Even though Elika mostly trusted the giant, a small part of her wondered if the giant would steal her after all. So it was a relief to be outside in the bright sunlight. The three Icelanders with the torches and rifles came towards the giants, but Elika stood in front of them and asked them to sit down again. "Look, we have a plan," Elika said. "The giant is our friend." "So will she come meet Ambi?" Aunt Caroline said, "all the way in the Himalayas? I have been thinking about a possible compartment to ship her there." "I will go," the ice giant said, "but I will not go in your compartment." "She has her own way there," Elika said, "a magic way." When Elika told Aunt Caroline about the ice chalice, she wanted to see it immediately, but the ice giant said no. "Elika is the only one who can know my giant's secrets," she said. "I will not show you." Aunt Caroline begged to see it, but the ice giant was firm. "Elika is my only human friend," the ice giant said, and gave Aunt Caroline a scary look. "Aunt Caroline," Elika said, "I told her I would be in the Himalayas in 5 days. Can you take me to the amber giant?" "Of course," Aunt Caroline said. "I always wanted you to meet him." "Okay," Elika said to the ice giant. "I will see you soon in the mountains." She wrote her promise on her hands. "I will be in the Himalayas for the ice giant." "An ink promise," the giant said. "I have never seen that. How wonderful." The ice giant took a long look at Elika, then went back into the cave. Relief filled Elika. She was really, truly free to go home now. They had to hike back to the car first. Though it was downhill, and Elika wore her normal shoes instead of the wobbly crampons, it was still exhausting. Elika went slowly. Waves of hunger washed through her. When they got to the cars, Aunt Caroline thanked her colleagues' friends, and Elika curled up in the passenger seat. She fell asleep, finally feeling warm. When she woke up, they were at the hotel in Hoffen. They went straight to the hotel restaurant for dinner. "The pasta," Elika ordered with pure happiness. All she wanted was a hot, steaming dinner, a hot, steaming shower, and then sleep. As they ate, Aunt Caroline wanted to hear all about the ice cave, and if Elika saw any other magical items there, but Elika was too tired and hungry. "Later," Elika said, in between mouthfuls of the pasta. "Everything later. I'm too hungry to even talk." After dinner, Elika took a long hot shower and enjoyed the steam that enveloped her. It was much nicer than the freezing cold air of an ice cave. Feeling clean and happily full, she went to bed. When she woke up, she looked at the clock and got a shock. 10 a.m. She had slept for 12 whole hours. But hadn't Aunt Caroline said she would wake her up at 9 a.m. for breakfast? Rubbing her sleepy eyes, Elika threw open the curtains. What she saw clenched her stomach with nervousness. Where was the mountain? All she could see was white. When she knocked on Aunt Caroline's door, her aunt explained she had been awake for a few hours, but decided to let Elika sleep since there was no driving in the weather conditions. They walked down to the hotel restaurant for breakfast. "A snowstorm," Aunt Caroline said over coffee. A snowstorm in July? Elika asked, drinking hot chocolate. She had ordered toast, but the snowstorm was making her too nervous to eat. The locals here say it's unusual, but that it can happen, Aunt Caroline said. When can we get to the airport? Elika asked. We have to be in the Himalayas in only 4 days. But Aunt Caroline didn't seem worried. She took a long sip of her coffee. We'll get there. We have plenty of time, she said. The storm will probably blow over by tomorrow. Elika put her toast down. Her throat felt too tight to eat anymore. She spent the rest of the day napping, explaining to her parents why she had to be in the Himalayas soon, and staring out at the white sky. The next morning looked equally as white. Now even Aunt Caroline was nervous. We can't reach the ice giant to tell her not to drink from the ice chalice, Aunt Caroline said over another hotel meal. There's no way to drive in the storm, much less hike into the glacier. Elika pulled her dark ponytail. If we stay here, she'll transport into the hotel when she drinks from the chalice, Elika said, shivering as she imagined the destruction she could cause. She'd smash through the ceiling and probably hurt herself, Aunt Caroline said, and maybe some of the hotel guests. Well, I can't wait outside in the freezing cold just waiting for her to transport to me, Elika said. Aunt Caroline agreed that the best thing was to go to Kathmandu if at all possible. But the latest flight they could catch to be in the Himalayas in time would be the next day. Any later, and the ice giant might teleport onto the flying plane and crash it. Elika shivered. She wanted to be hopeful, but deep down, she wondered if the plan was too crazy to work. It could be a disaster. At midnight, Aunt Caroline pounded on Elika's door. Elika sleepily dragged herself to open it. She jolted awake when she saw her aunt with her suitcase. The storm just cleared, Aunt Caroline said, her eyes bright. Let's go now. We can make the flight if we start driving now. New hope filled Elika with energy. She threw her things in the suitcase and followed Aunt Caroline into the night. The sky was painted amber and gold, the sun a low molten disk on the horizon. Sunset at midnight, Elika said. It looks like a honey sky. Aunt Caroline gave her a sideways smile. There is that poetry again, Elika, she said. For some reason, this time it didn't bother Elika. Maybe poetry was weird, but it was a good kind of weird. Though the drive was beautiful, with the painted sky and the early rising of the sun, they were both nervous about missing the flight. Aunt Caroline drove faster than she ever had. Hopefully they don't have traffic cops on the road, her aunt said, grinning. Elika could swear her crazy aunt was having fun. They made it to the airport in time for the flight. In fact, they had plenty of time. The flight was delayed 2 hours. Let's hope the ice giant isn't early, Aunt Caroline said, echoing Elika's thoughts. But unlike Elika, who felt sick with nerves, her aunt was grinning. I love adventures, don't you? Her aunt said. Elika shook her head no. Her aunt gave her a hug. Don't worry, it will be fine, her aunt said. You'll see, we'll make it in time. Elika wished she shared her aunt's hopefulness. She was tense during the whole flight. Okay, will they make it to the Himalayas in time? Find out in chapter 19 in the next video. All right, bye.